Hello everyone, I'm Koyan and welcome back to my YouTube channel whereby I will actually discuss with you Form 4 Chapter 10, Transport in Humans and Animals. Quick, quick. So let's take a look at this Selangor Set 1 2023. Okay, it is a blood circulatory system, human one, that functions to transport the respiratory gases in the human body. So they basically want you to identify what is R and S. It's very obvious when they label it, right? So they want you to compare the structure of blood vessel R and blood vessel S that functions in the gaseous exchange, and they provided you a table of similarities and differences. So 3 marks right here. So yeah, if you identify blood vessel R and S in the differences, you can also get 1 mark already. That's how easy it is. But so you have to know what is it lah. So before I enter the main point, I would like to show to you how to actually identify them. So first of all, you have to divide them into half, okay? So for biology, remember whenever you study all this cross section, the left side to you is actually the right side. Okay, what does this mean? Yeah, here is actually the right side lah. So I'm going to label to you, we got chambers of heart, right? So there are right atrium, right ventricle. So before the blood enters the right atrium, it will actually, the blood vessel will receive the blood from heart. So when it receives the blood from heart, it is the vein, right? So what is the vein, the vein name specifically? It is the vena cava for this part. So this is actually the vena cava. Yeah, you got up and down lah, inferior and superior, but we only just state it as vena cava. And vena cava, then it enters your right atrium and then followed by your right ventricle. So if you could recall the electrical impulse, generation of electrical impulse across your atrial wall and ventricle wall that coordinates the heartbeat. Yeah, SA node, atrioventricular node. Yeah, it's actually at there lah. So SA node and then the ventricle, and then you pass the ventricular node. Yeah, and followed by the next one right here. After it pass through the right ventricle, it will escape out from the heart. So it will be pushed out from the heart, transported out from the heart. So it requires what? Normally the one that transport blood out of the heart is the artery. Receive blood is the vein. So this is the artery. But what name you got? Aorta and pulmonary artery, right? So to be specific, since this one is transporting the deoxygenated blood, the deoxygenated blood has to go to your lungs, right? So lungs, in another name, we call it as pulmonary lah. So it's called a pulmonary artery, which is labeled in the R. Pulmonary artery. So it transport blood out of the heart to the lungs. So when your lungs, the gases exchange, now your blood has higher partial pressure of oxygenated blood lah, basically. So it has to be transported to your whole body ma. So it has to pass through your heart again so that it can pump your oxygenated blood. So this vein will transport the oxygenated blood from the lung to the heart. So the vein is the one that receives blood. But what vein is this? This is the vein from your lungs, right? Which is the one carrying the oxygenated blood. Since it's from the lung, it is called the pulmonary vein. So it carries oxygenated blood. Okay? Then it enters the left left atrium. Okay, and then if you can recall, there is a valve. Yeah, that one is the bicuspid valve. And then later there will be pass through the left ventricle. Then the left ventricle will contract forcefully from the bottom of the heart and contract forcefully to push your blood out of the heart. So the one that transport the oxygenated blood out of the heart is the dilome. So who's the big character? The one that transport oxygenated blood from your heart to the whole body, right? You need a very huge artery. What is this artery name? It's not pulmonary artery, or it's the aorta. So yeah, eventually it transport to the aorta. I mean through the aorta. Yeah, so that's the most of the labeling, and then yeah, your valve, your bicuspid valve and your tricuspid valve and your semilunar valve. Yeah, okay. So now let's take a look at the blood vessel R and ask what are the similarities between these two blood vessels. So both of them, what do they do? Okay, what is their function? They are the one that transport blood. I know they have differences that one is transport oxygenated, one is transport deoxygenated, but we can write them as similarities. Transport blood, don't write the specific, is it oxygenated or deoxygenated? But you actually figure out you can transport deoxygenated and oxygenated differences now. You can write that in the differences. So that's how you actually brainstorm your answer lah. So similarities is it both transport blood containing respiratory gases. And yeah, that's how you actually get 1 mark for your similarity. But another answer that they do also accept is both are blood vessel that connect what? They connect between the heart and the lungs. So both are blood vessels between heart and lungs. This is another answer lah. So you just write one, you do like they accept one only. And what about differences? Yeah, it is so obvious that this blood vessel R is pulmonary artery. But you have to write it in a full sentence lah. Blood vessel R is, or you can write R lah. Vessel R is pulmonary artery. And then this one is the pulmonary vein. Okay, so what are other differences? You can, other than stating their name, remember they have difference in their function, right? So this one actually blood vessel R lah, you have to add on. Okay, I'm so lazy to write, but you are the one sitting for exam, so please do not be lazy to write. Transport blood from the heart to the lung. It's very obvious. You can straight away see from diagram, right? Okay, so sometimes if you can't remember, but you can actually, see it from the diagram. But if you want to be specific, you can add on lah. Transport deoxygenated blood, and this one is oxygenated blood from lungs to heart. So yeah, these are the differences and similarity between them. Oh my god, my handwriting. Okay, so moving on to the next one is the wall of artery of an individual suffered with arteriosclerosis. They are so generous, they straight out mention he suffered with arteriosclerosis. You don't have to be Detective Conan figure it what is that. So yeah, you can see there's a plaque deposit on the inner wall of the artery. So explain the practices that can be carried out by the individual to ensure his cardiovascular system recover and it's always healthy. So this is actually very key, but you don't have to panic because it's something super common sense, super general. You can actually mention because plaque is formed from what? Is actually formed from, cholesterol, all those things, right? Fats, lipids. So what other practices you can actually consider what? you can consider the the diet, and you can consider the lifestyle. Person have to go to exercise regularly, right? And yeah, practice a healthy lifestyle. So what are the healthy lifestyle? You have to quit all the bad habits like stop smoking, avoid drinking alcoholic drinks. Honestly, based on the answer scheme, right? The first two is actually makes more sense lah, so it relates more lah. Okay, so since this one is K-bar, so they are open to a lot of questions. Alamak, did I mention wrongly? Oh no, I didn't mention wrongly. Wait, oh yeah. So um, since this one talking about explain the practices, so if you could actually elaborate more, it would be better lah. So avoid eating food high in cholesterol. Two, reduce formation of plaque or deposition of plaque on the inner wall of artery. Exercise regularly to burn fats. Yeah, those elaborations are even better because since they are asking explain the practices. Okay, moving on to the next one right here is the blood tissue of patient that can be seen under the microscope. So label the cell that produce antibodies to destroy the bacteria that enters body as Y in diagram 7.1. Basically, they want you to label the cell that produce antibodies. So it is definitely not red blood cell, no? It is the white blood cell. So let's take a look. Yeah, you can just straight out cancel the red blood cell. And there are so many types of white blood cell we actually learn in SPM. So how are you going to differentiate them? So many pattern, right? So first thing you can actually see whether it has a grain or it doesn't have a grain in the cytoplasm, like granule in the cytoplasm, not grain. So by observing it closely, you can see that the cytoplasm of the, yeah, these five white blood cells, some of them got granule, some of them doesn't have granule. So the one that has granule, like this one, it is a granulocyte, and the granulocyte actually consists of NEB. So it is neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil. What about a granulocyte? A granulocyte consists of lymphocyte and monocyte. So yeah, neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. So if you could recall, neutrophil and the macrophage, monocyte, it will mature into macrophage. These two are phagocyte. Then who is the one that produce antibody? The one that produce antibody is the lymphocyte, because lymphocyte they got divided into two lah. B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. To be specific is the B lymphocyte that produce antibodies. T lymphocyte is the one that stimulate B lymphocytes. So um we actually learn like how to see them. So how are you going to see them is neutrophil. It consists of 2 to 5 lobe nucleus. So yeah, this whole thing is counted as one nucleus, just that the nucleus got lobe lah. So that's the reason why it is lobe nucleus, but it's considered as one nucleus only, just that it's lobe shape. And then followed by eosinophil. Eosinophil, it consists of 2 lobe nucleus. And lymphocyte, monocyte, both of them does not have the what? They do not have granules in their cytoplasm. So how can you differentiate between lymphocyte and monocyte? Lymphocyte, normally lymphocyte, they are the one that occupy, their nucleus are larger in size. Yeah. And it has a very little cytoplasm in it. For monocyte, it is more of a bean-shaped nucleus. But this one is very big nucleus and very little cytoplasm. Yeah. So which one is the lymphocyte? Okay. The first thing to identify is, does it have granules? Find out the one that doesn't have granules because the lymphocyte doesn't have granules. So these two, lor, you cancel out these three already. So you are left with these two. So it's very tricky between these two, right? So since this one look more like a bean shape, this is actually the monocyte. And this ended up is the lymphocyte. So it is a lymphocyte, but you have to label it as Y, followed by the question like what they want you to do. So as a revision, like this is actually the the one that is closely related to lymphocyte where it doesn't have granule, but it's a bean-shaped nucleus. So it is a monocyte. And what about this friend? Okay, you can see it has three lobes lah. It looks like two and looks like three, but I see it as three lah. So this one is the neutrophil. And this consists of two lobes, so it is the eosinophil. And this one is two lobes lah, so probably eosinophil lah. But I can't confirm with you, but probably eosinophil lah, since it consists of two lobes. And if you look at the basophil diagram, right, it's very hard to see lah. Okay, it doesn't state like it has how many lobe of nucleus or also, yeah. Okay, so it is Y lymphocyte, the one that produce. So this person suffer from problem of fatigue, dizziness, frequent headache due to disease related to blood tissue. Explain his disease. So how are you going to explain it? So you have to base on the diagram. Did you realize that some of his red blood cell, right, are what shape? Sickle cell shape, crescent shape red blood cell. Some of them, yeah, it is a biconcave shape. So this person actually have sickle cell anemia. So how are you going to explain? So first of all, you can mention what is he experiencing. He has this sickle cell anemia. So this sickle cell anemia, what are the characteristics? You can say that the red blood cell are crescent shape, and then the the you know since it is a crescent shape and the hemoglobin, yeah, it is abnormal hemoglobin. And since the hemoglobin form is abnormal due to base substitution issue, that's the reason why it unable to perform its function effectively on transportation of oxygen. So you can mention all these things. So yeah, you can actually add on it is due to base substitution or due to gene mu. If this one is a essay question, you got so many things to elaborate, which is base substitution. So base substitution, if you want to elaborate more, is because of the thymine replaced by the adenine base. Therefore, valine amino acid is produced instead of glutamic acid. And that's the reason why the hemoglobin is abnormal, unable to perform its function effectively when it comes to transportation of oxygen. There's actually essay question during 2022 that frequently asked on sickle cell anemia. Long essay questions. So yeah. Now let's move on to the next question here, talking about the sequence of heart muscle contraction in the cardiac cycle with a valve leakage. So since this one is located between the left atrium and right atrium. So the valve is the bicuspid valve. So you can see the arrow. Supposedly the blood should flow in this manner. Okay, should just flow in one direction. But you can see that the blood eventually flow back. There's a backward blood flow. So why? Because of this bicuspid valve unable to, close properly and it end up inverting back lah. So that's the reason why the blood will actually flow backward. So you can see this part right here. Oh, sorry, just now I pasted a picture but I forgot to mention. The reason why it leads to poor blood circulation is because the sickle cell shape of red blood cell, they tend to clump easily together, therefore, blocking the blood vessel, which leads to poor blood circulation. That's another effect of it lah. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so moving on, the doctor will carry out this transcatheter treatment by attaching a clip to a leaking valve to ensure blood can be pumped out of the heart efficiently. Explain how the treatment works. So I actually tried to study about it and I found out there's another name to it. It's called mitral clip procedure lah. So okay, basically they want to make sure they want to attach a clip to that so to prevent so that the valve will close properly and prevent the leaking of valve. But they won't close the whole valve lah, of course. They will just ensure support the valve lah. So how it actually works, I actually can show to you the diagram. To let's take a look this part. Yeah. So supposingly lah, you can see your left atrium right here, and then here's your bicuspid valve. And bicuspid valve, in if you take a look in more detail, lah, you can see there is a muscle which is connected to a tendon. So this tendon is called chordae tendineae lah. But you don't have to remember it. It is something I learned, okay, in pre-university biology. So this this tendon will actually support this bicuspid valve. Why it needs to support this bicuspid valve? Well, it's to prevent the valve from inverting. So if the valve end up inverting, right, the blood will eventually there will be a backflow of the blood lah. So the reason why this issue will come up lah, why there's a backflow of blood is maybe lah probably because most of the common situation is normally because of aging patient. Their tendon or muscle, wear and tear issue lah. So it can't really perform well. That's why it ended up, or maybe it really torn a bit lah. So which supposedly it's supposed to prevent the inverting of the valve. But now it cannot prevent. So yeah, end up the blood flow backward lah. It can't close properly. So how are they going to, what is this procedure about? So this procedure is about inserting a clip right here. Yeah, inserting it right here. But don't worry, the blood will eventually flow. There will be there is still a pathway for the blood to flow into the ventricle lah. Just that they close it properly. Okay, they seal it properly, but still got hole lah. Just that at least they seal part majority of it to prevent so when it can fully close lah. Then yeah, it prevent the backflow of blood loss because supposedly the blood will flow back from the ventricle to the atrium since the valve cannot close properly. But now, yeah, because of attaching this clip, it can close properly. Yeah, but it won't close the whole valve lah, don't worry. So yeah, it can close properly, prevent the backflow of blood. So when I keep mentioning preventing the backflow of blood, you know how it works already, lor. So we can explain it in this way. When the left ventricle contracts, bicuspid valve is not closed fully. Therefore, attaching clips will prevent backflow of blood, or you can say blood flowing back from left ventricle to left atrium. This would actually ensure all the blood will be transported out of the heart through aorta lah, okay? You can be specific if you want to. Out of the heart through the aorta from the ventricle. This will, yeah, which allows body cells to receive sufficient oxygen. So I actually modify the answer a bit lah because yeah. All right. So moving on to the next one. Yeah, this one is very K-but lah. So you try your best to answer it. How are you going to answer it normally lah? You think of what is the function of the valve. So now the valve leaking ma, they try to fix the problem. So if you try to fix the problem, you know what happened or you can try to prevent the backflow of blood. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is talking about yeah, shows the blood flow in arteries of an individual. If you observe properly, there is a plaque deposit on the inner wall of artery. They have been using this picture for a long time already. Okay, I've seen it since KBSM. He often experiences numbness in legs, muscle cramp in the leg weakness, presence of varicose vein in the leg muscle. Explain one practice he can practice to overcome the problem. So they didn't really need you to explain about this thing called atherosclerosis, right? They normally just, I mean, this question just require you to explain the practice, so it's not as complicated as you think. So the practice is very general, like previously I've mentioned. Reduce the intake of high, high fat food, high cholesterol food to prevent the formation of plaque, and then frequently exercise to actually burn the fats. Eat more vegetable because vegetable is high in the fiber, which able to yeah uh remove with the cholesterol, and then in the end ultimately which would prevent the atherosclerosis from happening. So yeah, avoid eating yeah to reduce formation of plaque. So a lot of students don't really know how to differentiate between atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. Atherosclerosis versus arteriosclerosis. So atherosclerosis is the initial stage lah, whereby formation of plaque deposit on the artery wall. Arteriosclerosis is whereby it further lah, further stage because of the calcium starts to deposit, which will reduce the elasticity of your artery wall. So why artery wall? Yeah, supposedly artery wall should be elastic so that it can stretch and recoil easily, stretch and recoil. But now, because of calcium that deposit, which is the arteriosclerosis issue lah, it will reduce the elasticity of the artery wall. So when it's less elastic, it's very hard to stretch and recoil. So when you want to pump more blood flow, some of the plaque is blocking it. They need to pump more blood flow, right? So if you actually put a pressure to it, somehow it can't really stretch, you know, effectively since it's not elastic. That's why it will eventually lead to the bursting of the artery. So yeah. And why eat more vegetable high in fiber? Because fiber actually has this ability to lower cholesterol by, in the small intestine, whereby there will be absorption of your fats, your cholesterol, right? This fiber actually has this ability to bind with the cholesterol, bind with the fats, and then they try to bind as more as it can so that it will not, the cholesterol won't be absorbed by your small intestine lah. So when it binds with the fiber, since we don't have cellulase enzyme to break down cellulose fiber, right? So it will be what? And not become undigested material. So this fiber will bind with the cholesterol, and then it will be expelled as feces, right? Expelled together as feces. That's the reason why it lowers cholesterol level. This avoids atherosclerosis, overcome atherosclerosis. All right, moving on to next one right here is talking about the presence of antigen on the surface of red blood cell. So they want you to complete table below for blood cell A, B, and O. What are their antigen presenting on them and the antibody they have? So for AB blood group type, okay, O blood type, right? They don't have any antigen present on their red blood cell. Okay, so what about AB blood type? Okay, it's very obvious. It got A type of antigen. Okay, antigen A now we call it as antigen A. Other than antigen A, it also has antigen B present on the surface of the red blood cell. So it has antigen A and B. What about blood group O? No, it doesn't have anything, so none. No antigen present on it. And what about the antibody? So this part is where students get confused a lot lah. So O blood type is the naked one, naked one lah, the one that doesn't have antigen. So when it detect, okay, since it doesn't have, any antigen, okay, when it detects other red blood cell, okay, that consists of this antigen A, antigen B, right? Okay, so this is your own body cell. You don't have any, for blood group O people, they don't have any antigen present. But now they saw something different, something that is identified as foreign. Okay, it is a non-self antigen to be specific lah. So when they identify something foreign, right? Because antigen is the one that stimulate your immune response. What type of antigen? It is antigen that is identified as foreign. Okay, because your cell don't have that antigen. So when there is some weird antigen, new antigen, they know it's a foreign antigen. So your immune response, your immune system will be stimulated to produce antibodies to fight out the foreign antigen. Okay, so I think I drew it wrongly, honestly. Okay, I drew the antigen and antibody wrongly, alamak. Let me erase. All right, I have edited already. I'm so sorry for the confusion. Okay, so this is actually antigen. Okay, it's actually a protein, glycoprotein that present on the surface. Okay, but antibody is the one I drew only lah. So yeah, basically they see this antigen as something foreign because antigen is the one that stimulate immune response. This one they don't have the antigen lah, so they identify them as foreign. So they will actually produce antibodies to fight it off, to bind with the antigen. So the antibodies are the one that look like this. Okay, they will actually produce antibody to bind with the antigen. Okay, to bind with the antigen and agglutinate them. So yeah, they will agglutinate. Yeah, I mean they will all clump together and agglutination. If you can recall the action of antibody, yeah, one of it is agglutination. Another one is lysis lah. Yeah. So they will agglutinate them lah, basically. So this one is the antibodies lah. Okay. So the antibody is, to be specific. Okay. This one is antigen A, antigen B. They are identified as foreign. So the O blood type people will produce antibodies to fight it off. These antibodies are called I don't want antigen A, so it's called anti-A antibodies. And then it's C antigen B. It tak suka the antigen B ma. So there will be antibodies that tak suka the antigen B. So it's called anti-B antibodies. So they have anti-A antibodies and anti-B antibodies to actually bind with the antigen A and B to agglutinate them. Yeah. And what about this one? What about their antibody? Okay, will they produce antibody when they identify, oh, they see a naked red blood cell, don't have any antigen. Yeah, this one is the most basic red blood cell, don't have any antigen. Will it stimulate an immune response to produce antibodies to fight off? No, right? What about this type of blood group B? They have antigen B present on their surface. Will they produce antibodies to fight it off? They themselves have antigen B ma, so they identify them as a family ma. Okay, why you want to fight them? You yourself have your own antigen B. Okay, you see another blood group B also got antigen B, you won't fight it off. What about antigen A? Wow, got this sharp antigen, okay, different shape antigen A. Will it actually fight it off? You yourself got antigen A, why would you produce anti-A antibody? Impossible, ma. Why you want to anti-A when you yourself have antigen A, right? So it won't produce anti-A, won't produce anti-B antibodies because itself is a part of antigen A and B family. Okay, so even though they met antigen A, antigen B, it won't stimulate immune response. So none won't produce anti-A and anti-B antibodies. Okay, there's no antigen O. O is the most basic one, the Bourget one, okay, naked one. Okay, it doesn't have any antigen present on the surface. So the easiest way to understand lah, if you see that person have blood group type B, A, means that that person have that specific antigen, like AB, he got antigen A and B. B blood group type, he got antigen B. So if you got antigen, okay, let's say like if you got antigen B, means you are B blood group type lah. Okay, B blood group type. Okay, since you got antigen B, what antibodies will you produce? You got antigen B. Will you produce anti-B antibodies? No, ma. You yourself got antigen B. Why you want to produce anti-B antibodies to fight off your own antigen? That is self-antigen. So what if you see a different type of antigen? You suddenly saw a antigen A. No, you yourself got antigen B. So it is antigen A is identified as foreign. So you will produce anti-A antibodies to fight off the antigen A, which is a foreign antigen. Okay, so I hope you can understand between them lah. Okay, if you can't understand, you replay it again and again. Okay, I hope I didn't explain wrongly. All right, so he had an accident, required blood transfusion. He has type A blood. Based on the table above, which individual from blood group can donate his blood to Mr. X? Justify your answer. So since O blood type, right, it doesn't have any antigen. So it won't stimulate no matter which blood group type he donate to lah. O blood type he donate to AB, or O itself. They won't because it doesn't have antigen. So it won't stimulate immune response to produce antibody to fight it off. So all blood group type can receive O blood type. So it is definitely the O blood type. Why? He is very famous. We call them as universal donor lah. Okay, so why? Because it does not have any antigen present on the red blood cell. So it would not stimulate immune. This one is further explanation lah. It would not agglutination will not occur lah. Sorry. Okay, if you want to explain further, you can say it would not stimulate immune response of a person to produce antibodies to to agglutinate it out. So agglutination will not occur. Will not occur. O blood type is individual universal donor. So what about this AB? It can be seen from O, B, A, right? So, and AB, right? So it is a universal recipient. Okay, that's all for this. And then this is talking about blood clotting. So you can check out my previous video about it. So you can see that thrombokinase with help of vitamin K and Ca2 plus, thrombokinase convert prothrombin to thrombin. So it will convert prothrombin to thrombin. But you have to see the arrow flip properly. They try to trick students, right? Because normally we thought it's to the right hand side, but this one to the left hand side. So it's a prothrombin. Remember to spell it correctly. Prothrombin to thrombin. So thrombin will act as an enzyme, okay, to catalyze the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. Then the fibrin will form a network on the wound, will trap the network on the wound will trap the red blood cell, which will in turn prevent the blood loss. Okay, so what are the importance of blood clotting? Prevent excessive blood loss and prevent the entry of microorganisms into the blood and minimize blood loss. Another point is blood pressure can be maintained because normally when you have excessive bleeding, your blood pressure will be very low because there is a low volume of blood. So there will be lesser pressure, exerted on the wall. Yeah. Okay. So the next one right here, this one is the okay, is about blood clotting disease that related to blood clot. So compare and contrast between two diseases above. Okay, both are blood clot lah. Because you can see, I mean, it's very hard to see from here lah. It looks like a plague, honestly. But yeah, it's actually a damaged blood vessel which causes a blood clot to form right there. And another one is you can see this blood clot being transported. Okay, blood clot being transported. So there are two different types. Okay, one of it is actually called thrombosis. And what about blood clot that being transported already, dislodged from it, transported? This one is called embolus. So how can you compare and contrast? Okay, similarities between them is that they are not genetic disease, right? Okay, it is not inherited. And both disease occur because of what? It's related to blood clot, right? So these are the similarities. You have to write similarities and differences. So what about the differences? Is that 5.2 is a thrombosis and then 5.3 is embolus. And if you want to explain, but these are only 2 marks now, honestly. So yeah, you can explain what happens in the thrombosis. Blood clot is attached to the wall of the inner wall of blood vessel. Wow, and do not move lah. While for diagram 5.3 is the blood clot will move to another area. Since this one is a 2 marks question, you must, and the question emphasize compare and contrast, you must allocate 1 mark for similarity and 1 mark for differences. Yeah. Okay, so here are the similarities, which is the left hand side. Yeah, there are extra answer for you to learn more lah. Okay, normally that's the reason why normally it's better for you to, do and then read the answer scheme, see which info you lost, which marks you lost from. And here are the differences of them. Okay. And then moving on to next question is the formation of blood clot in blood vessel can lead to heart attack. How? Okay. How the blood clots can lead to heart attack. So The reason why is because heart attack, I mean your heart lah, it has this very important artery. Okay, I know heart plays a role on transporting oxygenated blood throughout all your body, pump blood lah, basically. Also to pump for the oxygenated blood also ensure the whole blood circulatory system of body works well, to efficient exchange of nutrients, gases, all those stuff lah, basically. Because blood is a medium of transportation. Blood contain a lot of stuff, a lot of oxygen, yeah, all those things lah. But the heart itself, who's the one that's supplying oxygenated blood to your heart? Because your heart always need to contract and relax, contract and relax. When you contract, relax, this cardiac muscle action, you need what? You need energy, right? When you need energy, how you get the energy from? You get energy from respiration. So respiration, remember, you actually need oxygen to generate energy. I mean oxygen for glycolysis, glucose and oxygen to be precise. Yeah, for glucose oxidation to get this ATP, right? So yeah, who's and then how you get the glucose oxygen from? You get it from the blood. How the blood is being transported to your heart? There is an artery that transport oxygenated blood to your heart. So it is the coronary artery. So if your coronary artery have this thing called blood clot at that, oh, when there's a blood clot in your coronary artery, what happens next? There will be what? Like the whole process I mentioned just now, no? When there's a blood clot in your coronary artery, okay, the blood supply already stopped. So blood supply stop. What is the effect of it? Is that you cannot transport the oxygenated blood to your cardiac muscle cell, right? So this cardiac muscle cell, yeah, is actually very severe issue because our cardiac muscle has no ability to regenerate on its own. Unlike liver cell it still can regenerate. That's why you can donate your liver cell and your own liver still can regenerate on itself. But our cardiac muscle cell, it cannot regenerate on its own. So if your cardiac muscle cell in that, specific moment, it didn't get enough oxygen supply, of course, it will lead to damage or death of it, and it can't be replaced anymore. It will be replaced by scar tissue. So this scar tissue can't even perform the function. Okay, scar tissue is just, to replace it only. It doesn't have the function to contract and relax anymore. So it is a very detrimental issue lah. So how are you going to explain is this one 3 marks. So at first you have to say it occurs at where? Because blood clot can occur at many places. If blood clot occurs in your brain, what happens? Stroke. You have stroke. So if blood clot happens in your heart, which is coronary artery, it leads to heart attack. To be precise, the name is called myocardial infarction. They will give 1 mark for that if you still can remember. And if you spell correctly lah. And what leads to that? Oxygen supply to the cardiac muscle, or you can say heart muscle cell lah. If you can't recall, it's called cardiac muscle. Okay, decreases. So the cardiac muscle will be damaged or will be dead. Okay, which in the end it leads to myocardial infarction. Okay, that's how you actually get 3 points from it, 3 marks. And moving on to MRSM paper. Oh yeah, to add on something lah. Okay, there is something called angina, right? That one is chest pain. Why it leads to chest pain? It's because there is a narrow lumen of coronary artery. The blood supply is not enough lah. It's not directly cut off. Still, the coronary artery, the lumen is narrow because of the plaque formation. Yeah. So it narrow down lah. So it narrows and then the blood supply not enough oxygen. That's why you feel a bit, discomfort in your heart, chest pain lah. So it's one of the red flag lah. You have to quickly go and check out your body and check out your heart lah. Okay, because if you still don't, go and go for medical checkup for your heart, eventually, if it worsens, it will become this myocardial infarction. Then, when your cardiac muscle cell is damaged, wow, very hard to, replace it already. Okay, even if you need, it's very hard to get a, compatible donor also lah. So, moving on to this MRSM paper, it shows a valve that can be found in cross-section of human, and there's a semilunar valve and bicuspid and tricuspid, but which one is which? Okay, you cut it into half. Okay, for biology, your right hand side supposedly is the left. Okay, okay, here is the right. So the one connecting the left atrium and the left ventricle, in between them are not connecting lah. In between, it is the bicuspid valve. And the one at the right hand side, the locate is called the tricuspid valve. Okay, so yeah, they also help you with another diagram lah, honestly. Okay, so yeah, blood vessel Q is what? It is an aorta. And okay, here, okay, initially this one is oxygenated blood. Okay, receive oxygenated blood from the lungs. So who is the one receiving the vein? What vein? Since it received from the lung, is related to this word called pulmonary vein. And then enter your left atrium, left ventricle, then it will be transported, oxygenated blood transported out of the heart through the aorta. So, transported out to your whole body cell. Okay, and then that's why this one is aorta. And this one, your deoxygenated blood enters your heart. So who's the one receiving the heart is your vein. Right? What's the specific name? Is the vena cava. Okay, sorry, it's your P, sorry, vena cava. Okay, and then got superior vena, okay, got vena cava, got one on top, from one on the bottom. Okay, and then it will be the deoxygenated blood will be transported out of the heart. So who's the one that transport the oxygenated blood out of the heart? Is the artery. What artery? Out of the heart. This one, the oxygenated blood. Do you still want to transport to your body cell? No, ma. You want to go to your lungs already, ma. So you have to go to the lungs. So it is called pulmonary artery. Yeah. Okay. So name valve M and N. Valve M is tricuspid valve. Meanwhile, valve N is bicuspid valve. Okay. And explain differences between valve M and N, blood vessel P and blood vessel Q, wall of R and S. So what is wall of R? Wall of R is the right ventricle. Wall of S is left ventricle wall. Alright? Okay. Okay, valve M and N, how are you going to compare between them? So if you take a look, maybe this diagram not really obvious lah. But this one, okay, since it's called a tricuspid valve, an easier way to remember is it actually has three leaflets. Okay, that's an extra info lah. And bicuspid valve, it has two leaflets. This extra info, they actually didn't mention. Did they mention? I can't really recall lah. But yeah, that's one of it. If you can't remember, yeah, it's fine because while remember what's their function, right? Where it locates, they also have a different location, right? So you can differentiate between them. So for this valve M, it consists of three leaflets, valve N, two leaflets. This one is tricuspid, this one is bicuspid. And then it locates between the right atrium and right ventricle. And valve N, it locates between left atrium and left ventricle. So it allows the one direction flow of the deoxygenated blood for valve, tricuspid valve. Therefore, it prevents the backflow of blood from right ventricle to the right atrium, or in another words, that one direction flow. And for bicuspid, it allows the flow of oxygenated blood, prevent backflow of blood from left ventricle to left atrium. You have to mention where is it, left or right. Okay. And what about vessel P and vessel Q? Vessel P is the vena cava. Another thing I would like to add on. Why valve M when I write tricuspid valve, I didn't get marked. I mean, for this answer scheme, they didn't mention that you will get marked if you write tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve. It's because previously right here, they already asked what is valve M and N. So if you still mention it in your differences, you have higher possibility of not getting marks for it lah, because they already asked previously in the previous question. But if you really can't think of it, then you repeat your answer again. You can actually repeat it lah, because there's no right or wrong. You just repeat it in case that time the answer scheme also accept it, even though they asked in the previous question also can, right? Yeah. So, but for person who's aiming to score A plus, yeah, don't just write, two of them maybe, then you just add on this. You think you have already mentioned the differences, but you have to add more lah, okay? Add more one lah, okay? Because this may not get marks lah. Sometimes like this one, they won't give marks lah because they already asked previously. Okay. Another thing is, since this one is 10 marks, remember to allocate marks for them, right? You cannot just compare between valve M and N. You must to be very fair, must be ideal, okay? All right. Vessel P and vessel Q, yeah, one is vena cava, one is aorta. You can compare their wall. One is a thinner wall, one is a thicker wall. And you can compare which one is more elastic or muscular also can. Since aorta is the one that has to, this one is the main artery. So it has to be very muscular to contract forcefully, and it has to be more elastic to stretch more lah, okay? More blood volume can accommodate. So it's more elastic, yeah, muscular. And since this one is artery, remember differences between artery and vein. Artery tends to have a smaller lumen lah. Okay, but not very small lah, but yeah, smaller lumen so that it can generate a greater pressure. And what is the function? Other than comparing structure, you can compare function. It transport blood out of the heart. And you can just separate I know students will write transport oxygenated blood out of the heart to body cell. But you can also add on it contains oxygenated blood in a separate point. They will also give you separate marks. Okay, and vessel P is vena cava, thinner wall, less elastic, larger lumen, lower blood pressure compared to this aorta. Transport blood from body cell back to the heart. And yeah, contain deoxygenated blood. What about wall R and S? Wall S is the left ventricle wall, and wall R is the right ventricle. So which one is thicker or which one is thinner? Okay, since the left part of your heart is the one primarily to transport oxygenated blood out of the heart to your body cell, you have to imagine you have to supply in such great distance until your foot, right? So you have to pump more, right? When you need to, contract more forcefully, you need to have what? You need to have a stronger muscle. So it has to be a thicker muscular wall. And that's the reason why you can generate greater pressure to pump blood out to the whole body, because the blood has to travel a greater distance, which has a greater resistance. So you need a greater pressure to pump more blood out to the whole body. And oppositely for the right ventricle, thinner muscular wall, lower pressure to pump blood just to the lungs only. And you also don't want to damage your lungs, the blood vessel in your lung. That's why you don't need, it's not required to pump a greater pressure in your lungs. I mean, pump a greater pressure from your heart to the lungs because to prevent your blood vessel in your lung from bursting lah. Okay, it's not necessarily high blood pressure is good lah. Okay, if it has its reason like this aorta, yeah, it's acceptable. Okay, the left ventricle. Okay, this person undergo heart screening and is you can see electrode. This one is the electrode cardiogram ECG. So explain the function of the machine. I'm actually quite shocked this one came up because it is not in our syllabus, okay? And it came out probably expecting us to answer some kind of K-part question. And it is a 4 marks question. Crazy, right? So yeah, you actually seen it quite common in hospital or you watch K-drama, all those things. Yeah, you can see it. So it's actually an electrocardiogram, ECG. So what does it actually do? It actually will record the electrical activity lah. Okay, so electrical activity will be detected by this thing called electrode. So is the reason why they need this thing, the doctor will actually analyze, they know how to read it lah. So when they analyze it, they will actually identify whether you have, slower heartbeat or irregular heartbeat. Then therefore they can, diagnose that person got what heart disease lah. So this is the most reason why we use electrocardiogram. So yeah, that's basically the function of it, to identify whether the person has a heart disease. To record and then it's detected by putting, but the main function, yeah, is basically identify and then can detect the heart problem. Okay. And then moving on to the last question right here is an angioplasty coronary procedure. So this one is actually a very interesting topic to learn also, other than the attaching clip one. That one is very new, the attaching clip, honestly. This one actually I've seen it before lah. If you heard of someone, maybe relative, they say, "Ayo, maybe heart got problem and then need to 吹波波." Okay, blow balloon. What does blow balloon mean? Okay, the reason why it's called blow balloon, why so cute one, this surgery, this treatment, is because they really use balloon. How they use it? Okay, I mean this picture maybe can't maybe see it that properly lah. Okay, this plate will actually narrow the inner wall of the artery. So they need to put a wire right here to, the wire, okay, it's called a stand lah, okay, it's not wire, but yeah, okay, this, I write, say as a layman term lah, okay, wire to like support it so that now the the diameter of the lumen, it is back to the same lah, it won't be narrow anymore. So are they going to put this wire since, it's so hard to insert this rigid wire shape at here, right? You will hit, you may even damage the blood vessel. So they will use a very tricky method. They will actually insert a wire, another wire, like, yeah, a catheter, okay, like just now. Yeah, they will insert a wire. Okay, then they will insert this wire. So that time, right, you can see the balloon is not big one, okay. Why you want to make a big balloon and insert, very hard to insert, cannot, So you use a deflated balloon first. And the balloon outside is surrounded by the stand, okay. So they will put it at the targeted area, the one that has a narrow lumen, and then they will 吹波波, they will blow the balloon, boom. And when they blow the balloon, the stand will extend. So yeah, then the balloon right here, that's why it will force the stand to extend and also forcing the narrow lumen to widen up the narrow lumen lah. So in the end, the ball, of course, you remove it lah. Okay, you won't leave it there forever, Okay, so yeah, they will keep the ball lah, the balloon. So in the end, yeah, that's how it works lah. There will be a good blood flow. So the reason why of using this ball is basically to attach this stand to it easily lah, or else it will be very hard. Okay, imagine there's no balloon. You want to insert it in such a narrow tube, and how are you going to expand the stand? Very hard, right? So you need someone to extend it using this cute balloon. So say thank you to balloon. All right. So how are you going to sing? Involve inserting. Explain the procedure, angioplasty procedure. So involve inserting stent into a blocked artery, and then a small balloon is placed at the end of the stand. The balloon is inflated to widen the lumen in blocked artery. This would enable the flow of blood to be normal, reduce resistance to the blood flow. Yeah, so this is a procedure to treat blocked blood vessel. So, ta-da, you can see this part right here. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's all for today's class. Okay, and I will see you if I see you. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this answered most of your questions lah. Okay, and I will see you next time lah. Bye bye. It's so late now.